Make that big boss less special. It ain't no game, but they saying welcome to the second level. Second level. Second level gaming. Second level.
Hi folks, welcome back. I hope you had a good lunch break. If you took advantage of it, just eat, stay hydrated, get good rest. Whatever the meme is, I don't know. I'm too old to know memes. Anyway, thanks for being here for this talk. This session is going to be hosted by a good friend of mine, Josh Boykin, who is going to be talking about small communities and the power that they hold within games. And so I would like to give you all a very warm welcome and a round of applause, both a warm welcome and a round of applause for Josh Boykin.
Hey everybody, can you hear me okay? Or how are we doing in the back? You hear me back there too? Okay. My name's Josh Boykin. I am the founder of a website called Intelligame. It's a game culture and criticism site dedicated to finding intersections between games and the world around us. Today I'm here to talk about specifically how small communities can manifest some pretty big power. I think a lot of times in the game space we feel like, oh, well, we need to get tens of thousands of followers before we're significant. But I think realistically there are a number of problems that we can be handling in our societies today that don't take any groups larger than the ones we already have. So before I get started, you're probably wondering, well, who is this guy who's standing on the platform? Again, I'm the founder of Intelligame. I've been a game journalist and critic for roughly 9 years is almost a decade, friends. That's a long time. I'm also a live streamer, both personally and professionally. I do some streaming on Twitch for Intelligame and also for this game called Drop Mix that I really adore, that lets me make music. And it's just, yeah, I'm hearing some excitement in the crowd. So yes, so good. Anyway, I also am a project manager. I'm a creative writer. I do a bunch of other things. And what this allows me to do is take a bunch of information and synthesize it into what could be relevant for this audience. So today we're going to start with 3 fast questions. The third one's actually not that fast. If you're sitting here in this room, we're wondering, well, who is this presentation directed towards? We're also asking, why is this information particularly relevant? And then our third question, the more in-depth one, is how do we actually go through and achieve this particular goal? We start with the who, right? When we're talking about making a big change in our communities, we want to know, well, who do we need to be able to do that? Odds are, if you're sitting in this room, that's something you are interested in doing. And the question is, who do you bring in to help? Well, maybe you have a Discord server. You have a group of friends that you catch up with on a regular basis. Or a Facebook group that you are involved in regularly, maybe for the St. Louis area, for a game that you like to play. Or you could be a Twitch streamer. And again, you don't have to be a partnered, multi-thousand follower, whatever streamer. You could be somebody who just goes up once a week and has 4 or 5 friends who engage and are interested in you and what you're doing. You could also have a clan. I don't actually play WoW, but this is what showed up when I pressed clan. And when I do play WoW, I play Alliance, so sorry. But yeah, so maybe you have a gaming clan that you are engaged with very regularly. Or a club at a organization you're part of, a school, your job. You might also maybe, I don't know, run a website where you're trying to convince people that they should get engaged in their communities and also have good conversations with each other. Whatever your who is, you have a group of people who you can help activate to make a change in the world around you. Now, a lot of times we talk about games as this opportunity for a little bit of escapism, as a chance for us to, I don't know, blow off some steam at the end of the day. But we also have to ask ourselves, well, why do we want to take the time to try and make a change? As gamers, there's a lot of privilege in our ability to be able to spend time with computers and video games and spend maybe $60 each title. And in the meantime, there are problems out there in the world that we can help dedicate some of this energy to solve. If you're familiar with a lot of gaming fundraising communities already, you might be thinking of things like Extra Life, where you have the opportunity to try and help take care of like childhood cancer. Or maybe you've seen fundraisers for animal shelters, because we all like raising money for like puppies, right? Puppies are great. But there are also some other causes out there too that could use some attention. For instance, food insecurity in impoverished communities. Or building houses and providing shelter for people who need it. Or maybe just any of the miscellaneous GoFundMes that we see up on our own Facebook or Twitter pages for our friends who need help for any number of reasons, whether they have an unexpected medical expense, a car that's broken down, temporary unemployment, any of these things. We can channel the energy that we have as gamers and the resources that we have to help make a difference. So now, the operative question is, how? Right? We know that we can take any of the people that we have around us, and we don't need a bunch of people to do it. We also can see that there are any number of reasons why we would take action. But how is the hard part. And I also like to subtitle this section, Do As I'm Learning, Not As I've Done. There are probably a number of you sitting in this room who will see me talk about a slide and be like, well, Josh, you didn't respond to my email for like a month. This is where I like to say, do as I'm learning, not as I've done. And by the way, do as I say, not as I do is a common phrase, but I think this is a little more forward thinking. We want to try and find opportunities for us all to progress and learn together. So phase one, there are 5 phases we're going to take on today, and the first one is target and scope. There are just a few different pieces in here. If you're interested in the slide deck and getting the information, you can let me know, or just shoot me an email. My contact information will be at the end, and I'll shoot this over to you, no problem. First, you have to ask, what problem is it that you actually want to fix? Maybe it's, again, that GoFundMe campaign for a friend who needs some help, or maybe you've decided that you want to do a regular fundraiser. What's the situation in society that you want to address? And then, what's the actual core of that problem? So, for instance, let's say that a friend has a car breakdown, right? Well, is the issue that they don't have a car, or is the issue that they don't have a way to get to work, or is the issue that they can't take their child to childcare? What's the actual core of the dynamic that you're trying to solve? Because that may make you do a little bit of tweaking in what you're targeting. And then finally, what is it that you actually want to do? Because as the key organizer, as the individual, you have to think, well, do I want to be out on the streets doing community organizing? Do I want to find a way to get my clan to continue playing Final Fantasy, but push some resources towards fundraising? Do I want to do a live stream and do a 24-hour marathon fundraiser? Whatever the thing is you want to do, mapping that out ahead of time is going to give you the most functionality towards making sure that you're actually achieving your goal. Phase 2, commit to the thing. And this, to me, is one of the most intimidating parts. Because it's not just about saying, well, I'm going to get out there and I'm going to live stream. Well, when you're trying to channel some of that big power from your small community, it means that you've got to get organized like a big organization. If you're a streamer, you've probably heard the saying of stream like you've got 1,000, even if you've got 0, or something akin to that. Regardless of however many people you actually have watching your stream, you want to act like you've got a big group. You want to treat your stream like you have a big group. Because then, when people come in, they want to spend more time there. And this commit is a big part of how you get that big energy in your small group. So first off, you want to start by choosing a time frame. This is some basic project management stuff. When you're saying like, well, I want to do a live stream, well, do you want to do a 24-hour marathon that you have done some like prep for a month? Do you want to do a weekly live stream where you get people organized and have a discussion for a couple of hours? Do you have a particular game you want to run through? How long do you want to take this project on for? And secondly, determine, well, how much time are you going to dedicate per week? Odds are, whatever this thing is, however you're activating your community, this is not the only thing you're doing. You probably have work or school. Maybe you have some friends you want to spend some time with. Or a dinner that you'd like to eat, maybe about once a day. Each of these things take time to put together, and you want to make sure that you're carving out the space to actually achieve this goal. And it takes some realistic analysis to say, well, I guess I already have 50 hours of things I do every week. Where am I going to fit in this new project? Next, ask yourself, am I going to need any money for this? Because a lot of things need money. And if so, where am I going to get that money from? Luckily, for instance, if you're running a live stream, most of the resources for live streaming are available for free. The software that you can put on your computer, the webcam that you might use just built into your laptop if you are using a laptop, the games that you might already own. But if you're going to run an event at a space, that might cost money. If you need permits, that might cost money. If you are going to ask people to do tasks for you, you might need to pay them. And paying them usually takes money. So the question is, are you going to need money? Where will you need it from? I would highly recommend if this is your first time putting a project together or trying to get your community organized, try and do it with as little money as possible. You want to make sure that you are paying people what they are worth, but you also don't want to blow out your budget for something that's kind of new. Finally, dedicate your resources. And when I say dedicate your resources, you'll notice it's bolded and italicized and underlined, because that's all the options they give me. I could have highlighted. Anyway, the point of this is you want to make sure that you have that time, that money, that energy actually carved out. Write it down in a notebook, find a budget, and be like, this is how I do math. If you haven't done math by hand for a while, I'm sure there are apps that will help you with that. But make sure that you've made conscious choices to say, this is the amount of time. This is the amount of money. These are the people. This is what I need. Because the more that you create that space for yourself, the easier it is to make sure that you're actually getting the task done. And inevitably, there will be other things that try to encroach on your time. So by dedicating these resources right off the bat, you already know what. Now, we jump into player select. This is the part where you look at that community we said from phase 1, your who, and you say, how do I get them involved? I know what I want to do. How do I get these other people activated? Start by asking, who's your team? Maybe you've got that Discord server and you know that you've got 6, 8, 10 friends on that server. Maybe 2 of them are the folks that you want to count on for saying yep, this is how we're going to go ahead and get this fundraiser started. These are the people I'm going to connect with on a regular basis. Maybe you can convince the whole server. That's up to you. But you have to decide who are the people that you want to get engaged. And then ask, are there partner organizations that you can work with for your goal? I'll bring up a couple of those. But sometimes when you want to reach a goal, you don't want to necessarily have to reinvent the wheel. So if you're doing fundraising for cancer research, you might hook up with Extra Life, who is actually right over there in the other room in the expo floor. And then you want to ask, why am I working with these people? Now, that's not to say that they necessarily won't be people you want to work with, but there's a difference between well, I'm working with them because I've known them for a while and maybe whatever, or I'm working with this person because they're an excellent photographer. I'm working with this person because they're an excellent developer and also community organizer. When you can hone in on the specific reasons that you're bringing in your team, not only can you then say, yep, I'm bringing you in because you're a great photographer, so I need you to do photography things, as opposed to I just do what you're excited about, but it also lets you see where your gaps are and then where you need to try and bring in other folks. Phase 4. Commit, because it's really important, but this one's for everybody. So now that you've brought in and talked to your team and said, this is the thing that I want to do and these are the people that I want to make it happen, you're going to ask everybody to go through those same commitment steps. How long do you want this project to go for? How much time are you willing to spend a week? Are you going to need money? Where does that money need to come from? And then dedicate those resources. By having these conversations up front, before the project kicks off. Before the project kicks off. This is how you make sure that everybody knows what they're trying to do and is working towards the same goal. Because you might bring in a friend who's like, yeah, I'm really excited about this project. And then it turns out they wanted money, which is not unreasonable. But if you don't have money to give them, you should be able to have that conversation up front and say, hey, I appreciate that you wanted to get involved. I can't pay you. Maybe there's something else we can do. But if you don't have that discussion up front, you will encounter problems later when people are, for instance, not as engaged with the project because they have other priorities, things that pay their bills. These are the kinds of discussions you want to have up front. The more that you can get organized, the more energy you can capture from your community. Phase 5, be small, act big. And this is bringing us right into our close. This is a lot of attitude stuff, ways that you want to make sure that you're giving people an opportunity to really thrive in your space. You want to tell people what you're doing. I'm terrible at this, whether you use social media or an email listserv, whatever. Tell people what you're doing. Also, reach just a little bit past what you think you're capable of. If you think that you could get a local grocery store to sponsor you, send them an email and ask that local grocery store, and then maybe also ask their grocery store next door too. Also, let your community in. There are so many ways that IntelliGame has been able to get things done that I couldn't do by myself, but have worked out because other people said, like, hey, I can do video editing. Let's do some videos. And also, be transparent when you have a failure. Let people know, like, this is the way that we've struggled. This is the goal that we fell short of. But also, celebrate your successes, because there are going to be plenty of those too. And you have the opportunities to let people know when you are succeeding, and they'll want to join in on that. Finally, some quick lightning bonus round goodies for the road. These are a couple organizations that you can start partnering with. These are organizations I've worked with personally, and I think they're fantastic. If you want to do fundraising for, again, for like cancer research, Extra Life is a fantastic organization, and they're right over there in the expo hall. Also, Player vs. Hunger, I can't help but personally recommend. It's run by a friend of mine, Sylvie Dow. She is also Fluffy Pancake on Twitch. She just started this nonprofit. They've raised, I think, already over $6,000 for food insecurity, specifically in impoverished communities. I think more organizations like this need to exist, and I would recommend looking both of these up. Finally, this is a mentality that I call B4+. Before you get anything started, make sure that you have these ideas in your head. Be punctual, be consistent, be engaged, and be flexible. These are all, I cannot tell you how many projects you'll wish that you had thought about having one of these mindsets in your head before you get started. But the plus is be grateful, because you can get really caught up in sort of the mechanics and running the project itself. But if you can keep a mindset and an attitude of gratefulness for the opportunities that you have, the people that you're taking these things on with, I guarantee you that'll open more doors than you could possibly imagine and help you to find those situations that you're looking for. So that was a lot of information in a little bit of time, but that is my recommendation on how to get some big power out of your small communities. My name is Josh Boykin. Thank you for your time. Do you have any questions? Are there any questions? Okay. Well, in that case, if you have any follow-ups, you can shoot it to my contact information here on the screen. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
It ain't no game, but they saying welcome to the second level.